Valentine's Day? Nah. In this house, we know the chocolates, and that today is also the canonical birthday of a one Lara Croft. Yes, folks, 1 year after the excellent remasters of the first three Tomb Raider games released with the combined efforts of Crystal Dynamics, Spire, and Saber Interactive, helping bring the ideal titles to life. We also get Lara in, shall we say, her rough years, a trio of flawed but necessary experiments for the franchise overall. So here, I present my thoughts on Tomb Raider 4 through 6 Remastered, and I'll briefly talk about each individual game and my experiences with them, both, and also how the remaster not only builds upon works about these titles, but in many ways fixes the more divisive aspects, and also what this could mean for other their games that, despite the reception about them potentially being reworked for the future. So let's begin. Let's start with right off with The Lost Revelation from 1999, which originally released on PlayStation, also had ports on the Dreamcast and PC. My understanding is that all three of these titles that remastering are based on the original releases, but also contains elements for the PC ports as well. I also really like how this game not only lets you have also remastered like the Times exclusive DLC expansion and pack. You don't even have to unlock it. I mean, you can start right with it if you so desire. And also how, as you could see from my streams, it deals with, as a prologue, Lara's first major adventure, or one of her major ventures before or she became the one we know and love, and actually interesting how they actually managed to completely rework young Lara's model for the remaster, or it's not just, let's say, slight retooling of like the base model on this time either. I mean, and just seeing the how much lush the setting in Thailand looks, it's as well as the when you explain Ying Tut's tomb. I mean, I've always had a soft spot for this game as something of an extension of the first three titles. So it should set the stage pretty well for going my thoughts on the other two games in this collection. 2000, Tomb Raider Chronicles. This is a game that definitely is one of many pieces of pop culture that definitely helped signal the end of the 90s, beginning of the millennium, and also showed the consequences is that franchise can have. I mean, like an annual release cycle of continuing to pump them out, which is also a sentiment that the original developers expressed. I mean, it wasn't. I never hated it per se, like a lot of people did. I know a lot of people did not enjoy the game. I have spoken with a few people at the time that did. I just thought it was okay, which I think is a fair assessment given how it's not the worst thing ever, but it definitely feels a lot like they were going through the motions, and which is something, again, the developers admitted, like, because it was under contract, and then they only did it because no one else would in interviews. And again, there are some alterations that, rather than and the Timex watch from the original release and specific model no less, so they had a more or a timeless item while also retaining the product of its time, of Lara's sunglasses being the indicator just to save and load your game this time. And I definitely not certain and how I know that the Timex placement was in the PS1 release, but I'm not certain if it was in like the Dreamcast or PC ports. I'm gonna have to guess not, man. Since, but again, and also I kind of mentioned how rather than like Lara's home being a way to practice your skills before the real thing begins, and these games simultaneously drop you right into the story while also making the first stage or so like a chance to test your skills before the real adventure starts. Which should make an interesting segue to arguably the most infamous title in this collection, the one I actually tried first when the game went live this morning. And the one I had the most complicated relationship with, even. Tomb Raider: The Angel of Darkness, the sixth main installment in the franchise, which has been documented in both written and video formats, had, to put it mildly, a troubled production, especially. It was initially slated for release in 2001, then in 2002, and by the time I got to 2003, they were not willing to offer any more delays, and also came a stipulation that if the game did not perform to expectations, let alone sell well, it would mean that the franchise would be taken from the original developer's core design and given to Crystal Dynamics, which is exactly what happened. And it was originally planned to not only bring the character to a new generation, but also include elements of stealth action as well as open world or sandbox aspects, which, given it came out after both Metal Gear Solid 2 and Grand Theft Auto 3 did both of those respectively, it definitely was like the first ambitious failure to reinvent in the games. That would not be the last. In fact, this is one where they needed the most work, and especially given how the original game was like the franchise Sonic 06, in terms of both the plot bringing one's suspension of disbelief and it functionally shipping as unfinished. It wasn't just like the more ambitious title that a lot of them were aiming for or didn't make it. It was the fact that basic functions like the controls and the camera somehow performed worse than they did in previous installments. And there were some interesting ideas as in taking the action beyond the usual tombs, as well as everywhere from nightclubs to upscale apartments to everything else. But and even like the stamina feature and other RPG mechanics were interesting on paper, but the implementation was not really the best handled in the initial release. And I will say that this release actually fixes a lot of key issues. Who's that? If you were like I was at the time of release, disappointed with the game for, among other things, contributing to killing the franchise for several years, then this is definitely the ideal way to experience it. It's second time around, and if it's your first time, this is definitely the version I'd recommend playing, and as it's currently available not just on PS4, but also on PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series, PC, and Nintendo Switch. So, you can definitely have like Lara on the go, in all her glory. On top of overhauling the visuals, which, much like they did the first three games, looks quite impressive. You can also switch between the classic and Master Chief is always a push of a button, kind of like in the Master Chief Collection. And they also offer both the classic tank controls, which I'm currently playing, so I'm most used to, but also the controls that are more modernized, the dual analog, similar to my Legend, which is one of my favorite ones of the franchise, and I am still immensely glad that Crystal Dynamics got out what the game was good for them, as did Saber Interactive and Aspire. I mean, and despite the whole attempt to rebrand them as Embracer and Friends, given the mess that was as all the cancellations and layoffs, studio closures after that bit of Mideast investment fell through, Lars, you're not fooling anyone but yourself. And I will say that I will intend to keep playing these. In fact, I'll after you see this, I will be indeed streaming in Angel Darkness as later this evening, so keep an eye out for it. One last note. While I know the goal has been primarily to reserve the best games for future generations, especially given the debate about who should hold the keys to futures ever ongoing. I mean, I will admit that even ones that aren't as well received can be given value by all manner of people, even just something as simple as doing like a silly online review about these games where that's also why I don't really bat an eye at seeing like a Jurassic Park or Bill and Ted game from years ago get re-released to main, and why I don't mind at all when even titles I have not played or even not into show up on PS Plus or on Nintendo Switch Online. Fine. They may not be my favorite ones ever, but I'm glad they're there. And I certainly hope that they can keep up the work they've been doing with other titles. And I'm also very much open to not just having Spire take on games that weren't as successful as initially planned, but also see other companies like Night Dive and the work they've done to not only preserve the original experience, but also to revamp it in a way that makes it more accessible and in many ways more enjoyable when it first came out. So, anyway, that'll be it for now. I will see you on Sunday with my look at Captain America Brave New World, and also probably might have something else on top of this weekend. Because I don't want to see what it is, though. That'll be all for now. Take care, everyone.